We are back. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you hanging out. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis on this Monday, July 10th. Unbelievable. We are. Yes.
I figured out. I just got a text from my son-in-law, Josh. I see they showed you my surprise on your show. You're welcome. Ha, 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 ha. How did Josh get this to you guys?
Can't tell you.
He kept telling me yesterday, here, I got a surprise for you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And I'm like, okay. He never said anything when we left. I'm thinking, okay, whatever it was, wasn't that important. Now I'm trying to figure out how he got you the picture.
You're going to have to do some detective work. That's how you're going to have to.
That's okay, because you know how he likes to instigate with me. He always takes my wife's side when it comes to stuff like when my wife wants to make a purchase or do painting or change a room.
Yep.
He always says, you know what? He throws stuff out there like that. You never take care of your wife.
Oh,
why do you always try to keep her downstairs? So every chance I get with my daughter, I do the same thing with him. You promised me you would take care of my daughter and treat her like the princess that she is.
Sickness and health till death do us part.
Well, yeah, and, you know, you treat her like a second-class citizen. I do it in front of my daughter.
Oh my God.
So my daughter just looks at him, and he's like, I said, hey, what's good for one is good for another.
Yep.
So now I got to figure out, okay, let's see, what did Tone say here? Let's see, what did Tone put in it? A true producer never reveals his tricks and
exactly
treats.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly right. That is correct. By the way, I'm excited about this this new Netflix documentary on quarterbacks. Have you seen this?
I have not.
I think the first trailer, Netflix has put out the trailer on social media, and I think Pat McAfee ran the trailer on his show, but it looks pretty good. It's called Quarterback. It's the new docu-series following Mahomes, Cousins, Marcus Mariota. It premieres on Wednesday.
Really?
I don't know what. Yeah, it's from last year. Obviously, I don't know how much you're going to get out of the Mariota part of it, but whatever. It's getting pretty good reviews. Like people who have seen clips of it said it's pretty darn good. So
how many parts is it? Do you know?
I don't know how many parts there are altogether, but I know it starts Wednesday. So I'll be on it. That's for sure. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got to see that. You know.
Yeah.
Still have not seen the Schwarzenegger one you've been talking about.
You got to watch that, man. You'll love it. I'm telling you. I thought the first two, it's 3 episodes. It's easy. It's like 3 1-hour episodes, but the first 2 are killer. The second one's good. It's not as good as the other 2, but you'll like the first one is early years. And then the second one is making it in Hollywood. And that's, you go behind the scenes with like Terminator and Predator and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I won't be getting to see it tonight because I just got a notification a few hours ago. My daughter, can you keep the 2 kids overnight tonight? I couldn't get anybody to work for me. You know, she's an RN and her husband was already scheduled to work. So
she's pulling a double.
No, she didn't work yesterday. It was just that she was trying to get this day off because she needed us later in the week. So now I get the little darlings twice this week.
The little darlings. Yeah, that sounds sincere. So we know you're going to be up all night and sleeping on the floor. Okay. All right. Oh, man. All right. So Sixers real quick, because we did touch on it off the top, but it's a weird setup here with what's going on. And you're trying to figure out exactly, what they're doing. One of the interesting things from this past weekend was, so Michael Rubin had another gathering out in Vegas with the Summer League and the league announcing a tournament they're going to have that's in season. And Rachel Nichols caught up with Joel Embiid, and he basically said, I'm hoping James Harden stays. He said, look, I get it's a business, but I want the guy to stick around and stay. I don't know, Derek. I just feel like at this point, when a guy has 1 foot out the door and once out, and you're doing the whole sort of like begging him and cajoling him to stay, I think it's already over at that point. But it seems like the Sixers are legitimately going to try to keep him around and run this thing back.
Yeah, based on what Joel said, and I don't like to read between the lines, but just based on what he said, that to me is confirmation that James wants out for whatever reason. We heard that he once he opted in, he voiced his displeasure with the Sixers for whatever reason, and it seems that he hasn't changed his stance one bit. And Joel's just crossing his fingers, hope they can find a way to keep James here. I do still think they're pondering a move of some kind to send James on his way, because if they're stuck with James this year, I think he could be a disgruntled player. And you don't need that when you're trying to build and get this team to the next level. And just by looking at the roster right now, it doesn't look like a next level roster. I just hope they find a way to move out from under James, and whatever happens, happens. You know, if they win more games than all of us are anticipating, great. If they don't, well, the ray of sunshine is next summer they have a lot more room in the cap in the cap department, and can do some more significant things to make this team better.
Yeah, they introduced Patrick Beverly today. He's been one of the additions. They've lost George Niang. They lost Jalen McDaniels. Yep. They've lost other pieces. The big news, if you're just jumping on, we talked about it earlier, but they did match the offer sheet that the Jazz gave to Paul Reed, so he will be back.
Here's the thing about Patrick Beverly. I think he's a very good ball player. I just can't believe he's bounced around as much as he has. And that's a question. Why has he bounced around? He's a scorer. And I tell you what, he's not shy about being verbal. You know, I'll give him that. He'll speak up when he has to. How will that fit into this group of a bunch of guys basically that don't say a whole lot? That's going to be interesting. But now you have PJ Tucker and Patrick Beverly, two guys who are not afraid to speak their minds. Maybe that's what Nick Nurse wants on his team. Who knows?
I think he realizes – he needs some of those dudes. Like, he needs somebody to shake some things up and get into somebody's grill a little bit. I think Tucker will do that. Beverly will do that. But, you know, let's face it, we all love Tyrese Maxey. He's too much. It's not his personality. He's not that kind of guy. Harden's not that kind of guy. Embiid really isn't that kind of guy. I'm just trying to think who else here. Tobias isn't that kind of guy. No. You need some of those sort of dogs, some of those guys who aren't afraid to mix it up. And we use a couple more, in fact.
We saw ISO shots of PJ Tucker getting in people's grills during the playoffs on timeouts on the bench. You need more of that, you know, and maybe that's what Nurse has said. Hey, this is what I need. This is the kind of mentality I need in my locker room. You know, we'll see. Now, for players who are not used to being chastised and verbalized, we'll see how they respond. Will they rise to the occasion? Will they shut down even more? Will it cause a lot of friction and tension that we're going to hear about eventually throughout the course of the season? Big question mark. Huge.
I know. No, listen, you're right. I sit here right now, and I'm trying to give Daryl Morey the benefit of the doubt, and think that he can't possibly, under any circumstance, go into this year and just sort of try to run it back. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, at least right now. Does it look good? Like he's got some great grand plan? No, it doesn't look good. I don't know. I still think Harden's going to get traded. I do. I think Harden's going to get traded. And I think it's going to be the Maxey Embiid show. They very well could keep Harris around, and they'll just let him sort of ride it out, or maybe trade him right at the deadline and just get the money off the books.
The Harden comment you just made, is it a professional opinion, or is it a personal desire?
No, it is actually professional opinion. I don't think that, I think they realize, and if anybody knows him, it's Daryl Morey. And Daryl Morey knows when Harden goes into, I'm out of here, I've checked out on a place, it can be nuclear. You know, he's not a humble, mild-mannered, just going to kind of do his thing. You know, he could become Fat Suit James. He could become just, I don't really care, James. Fat Suit. You remember he did that? You remember in Houston? You remember that? So he's like, he shows up and he looks like he's 30 pounds heavier than he was.
Yes.
Suddenly he's in Brooklyn and he didn't look as fat. Like, people really think that he had like something underneath his jersey that he put on. But anyway, I don't think it generally goes well when he's checked out. But maybe Morey feels like if there's anybody who can convince him, it's me, and Joel's got his back, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I mean, they were all together at that white party, whatever that is, whatever went on there.
All I know is, man, Michael Rubin throws an awful lot of parties.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Like, seriously, how much do you think that white party cost?
Oh, my goodness. with the, let's see, the guest list.
Couple 100,000, right?
Betting, more than, I'd say more than. And I'm sure that when you think about the high caliber of beverage as well as food there, because when you got people like Jay-Z coming into your parties, I mean, you're putting out caviar, lobster, shrimp. You're not just putting out, hamburgers and hot dogs, for that crew.
No,
I would say it could be closer to 500,000 for these parties.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I don't know that if that was his house or a place he rented out. I don't know. But between that, probably real high-end liquor, super high-end food. You're right. He isn't doing like, hey, who's ready for a brat? You're getting something really heavy.
And the catering alone is costly when you think about, you got to mass produce that much food probably for a couple hundred people.
And he's probably taking care of like shuttles from wherever they're staying to his place and back. There's no liability with, drinking and driving and all that.
Or private car service.
That too. Yeah.
For the big names, they ain't taking no shuttle. We're talking private car
Here's
service.
the other thing I always wonder about with this stuff. Look, these people are the rich, extremely rich. They're elite in terms of money. Do they fly in on their own dime, or does he cover that too? I can't imagine he's picking up the airfare.
No, I think his name is so big and his parties are so prominent. People will pay their own dime just to be a part of it. If they're invited to be a part of it, will pay their own dime to get there. But then they get all these perks when they get there. Hey, we'll take care of you getting to and from it. You don't have to worry about it. You need a security detail. We got you covered in that regard. And that's another thing. There's a security detail there for those parties, because you ain't letting any paparazzi just jump on the premises and take all the pictures they want. So how much is that costing you as well?
I know. I know. All right, let me give you a couple things from Patrick Beverly, who met with the media today. He said, quote, obviously you have an MVP in Joel Embiid on your team. You have a guard in James Harden. You have a young guard in Maxey. Obviously, I wouldn't even put Tobias as a role player. I think he's a star in the making to that next level superstar, depending on the situation. I mean, you put them all on one team. You had obviously new coaching. You had the dog mentality of me and PJ Tucker around young guys to kind of mold them on how to be pros in this league. I think a lot of teams in the NBA wish they had what the Sixers had.
I agree with that. But what did I say a few moments ago? Him and PJ Tucker are not going to be quiet. And I guarantee you, Nick Nurse is going to give them the green light to speak up. And how will that affect certain players? What if they get in Joel Embiid's grill? There's games when he shuts down. What happens if you get in his grill?
Yeah, like that's the thing. And that's a good point, Derek. Like if PJ Tucker's a starter, Patrick Beverly's going to be coming off the bench, right? Can he get in Embiid's grill? I mean, an MVP who's out there playing 38 minutes a night and you're playing whatever, what does he end up playing? 20? I don't know, whatever he plays, 20, 22 minutes. No. He could do I think he could get on Maxey, right? And I think Maxey is this is another thing that's great about Maxey is he takes to that kind of stuff. He's not a powder. Like,
No.
remember Embiid and some of those guys you could say like, come on, like really talking to him, Doc would get on him.
Yep.
So I think he would respond well to that. I don't know that Pat Bev is getting in James Harden or Embiid's, or Harris for that matter's grill. Let's be real.
I don't know about Harden. I think Harden would jaw Jack back more so than anything else. I think Embiid's comments would be more calculated. But you're talking about questioning the efforts of the franchise player who is now your reigning MVP as well. Joel is not used to anybody other than a coach maybe getting on him. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he would handle that if a teammate gets in his grill. But now that you have PJ Tucker and Patrick Beverly, and as I said, both two guys who are not afraid to speak up, things can be a little different. Could be a little tense, a little more tense in that locker room, depending on how some of these guys respond negatively and positively to being browbeat by somebody like that.
Yeah. But that said, that the dog mentality thing applies not just to your teammates, but also maybe the Sixers were a little bit too nice in a lot of ways to the opponent, weren't quite angry enough, weren't quite willing to get under the skin. You know what I mean? Like that's where I think it's big because Tucker will take you out. And Beverly, we know he will get in guys' grills. and get them out of their game maybe a little bit. So I think that's where that's valuable.
I just find it interesting that a guy who averages 2 points a night has such a verbal presence in a PJ Tucker.
Yeah, there were some box scores where you're like, wait, he played how many minutes and didn't even attempt a field goal? You're like,
yes.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
But he's been around the league. He's known as a solid player, especially defensive specialist, and he's had the green light to speak his mind. And I can see it happening even more so now coming up this season if things start going south.
But that's the thing, though. Like, you knew when you recruited him and when you brought him in that he wasn't going to give you, monster scoring nights. I had just hoped for that much more. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more. What he needs to do is knock down some of those threes in the corner. That's what he needs to do.
Yes. See, Tone says Beverly will go at Embiid. I have zero doubt about that. I agree. There's a reason Beverly's been brought in here. Beyond his basketball athleticism, there needs to be, if you're going to be a defensive-minded team, you need tougher mentally players.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverly fits that category. Now, Beverly will get in the grill of not only his teammates, but he'll stir up some stuff with opponents as well throughout the course of a game.
So Beverly also, some people view him as a recruiting tool to keep Harden here. They're friendly, obviously. He said, quote, James, I love you, bro. Stay. So I don't know that Patrick Beverly's presence keeps Harden here, but he's trying. At least publicly, he's trying.
Well, I mean, this team is better off with Embiid than without. But I think this is a definitive season in terms of how much further can we go with Embiid? Have we gone as far as we can go with him? While he's past that 30 threshold next summer, is now a prime time. You might get that itch. It's now the time that we try to make a move for him and rebuild this thing without him here. And, the haul we could get for him if we can just find a center. If we can make the four of the starters better and have a center that's good but not great.
Yeah.
Is that the way to go? I mean, hey, look.
I think they're 1 year out from Embiid maybe pressing the issue to get out of here. I think they're 1 year out.
Look at Boston. Boston didn't have a dominant center, but look at the pieces they had around the center. That's what makes Boston as tough as they are.
Yeah. And
I can see the Sixers trying to emulate something like that if they decide next summer.
Oh, yeah.
Or before this season's trading deadline even, if they can make their product that much better without Embiid. If Embiid is holding them back to where they want to go, if they identify that, as crazy as it sounds, at what point do you put Embiid out there on the market to see who might bite?
It's a great question. Look, Sills jumps in. Morey's made zero impact as an NBA GM. The dude's a bum. I think he's overrated. I do. I think he's overrated. He didn't win it in Houston. He comes here as this sort of, like, I don't say boy wonder. He's not a kid, but like, as this guy who's ahead of the curve and everything.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they haven't been able to get past where they were in the second round.
No, they haven't. No.
So, it's, we don't talk about guys like Jaden Springer, who was a first round pick who's made zero impact. We just sort of gloss over that and look at some of the other stuff. He's brought in Harden, and now Harden either wants out or might be or might walk at the end of this year. And who knows what you're going to get out of him if he's stuck here in a situation that he doesn't love. I mean, look, there's a lot to it, man.
It's a soap opera, basically.
It is. Derek, I swear to you, man, I wish more of the Sixers, and granted, it's always entertaining for us to talk about, so I don't want to come off like a total hypocrite. Like we always talk about everything when it comes to the Sixers too, but I wish it was more about winning than all the drama.
Yeah.
It feels like it's always drama with this team. It's tiresome. It really is. And it's like, okay, great. So, you got these pieces assembled, and maybe we'll be able to talk Harden. Even if Harden wanted to be here, you're still basically the same team you were last year. And that wasn't good enough. And let's not forget the way it ended, the way both he and Embiid laid down. There's no getting around that for me.
I can't get that out of my mind. A game 7 on your home court, on their home court, but you didn't even show up.
Yeah,
you're two of the higher paid players in the league, not your team, in the league. You didn't even show up. You took a vacation one game early.
Yep.
And got embarrassed.
You did. And you decided you were just going to take your ball and go home. So Tone says, every time I see Springer, he looks electric. We're watching different guys. He can defend and he can jump, but he can't shoot. He doesn't score well enough for me. But
I'm not,
I don't know. I'm hoping somebody blossoms here. I'm hoping one of these guys they got, as an undrafted free agent or something. And trying to judge anything from these summer league games is so difficult because a lot of it
football.
The problem, a lot of it is just like guys aren't playing team ball. They're like black holes. Like you pass it to him and the guy, it's not coming back because he wants to get his, because he wants to impress, any team. If not that team, he wants to get some tape for another team. So it's hard to gauge much out of these summer league games. That's for sure. All right, let's step aside and let's come back to talk some NFL. Kind of a hodgepodge here. We got Tom Brady stuff, Kadarius Toney, Dalvin Cook potentially, DeAndre Hopkins potentially, Javonte Williams, our greatest series with the Chargers. We'll do all of that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about our friends at Flynn Tree Service. Yes, they are an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face, and they are experts at trimming all types of trees and serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, as well as northern Delaware. You go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call, 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's